Have you ever let one flash of anger wreck your entire day? One careless insult, one disrespectful comment, and suddenly you're hijacked by emotion. Your pulse spikes, your thoughts spiral, and before you know it, you're saying things you don't mean. Regret hits you later like a wave. Why does it feel like we lose all control the second anger shows up? More importantly, how do we take that control back? The ancient Stoics had an answer. They believed the real battlefield isn't out there, not in arguments, traffic, or toxic people, but in your own mind, your emotions, your reactions. That's where true strength is forged. And here's what might surprise you. Real power doesn't come from yelling louder. It doesn't come from getting the last word. It comes from choosing not to react, from staying calm in the chaos, from refusing to hand your peace over to someone who never earned it in the first place. In this video, you're going to learn exactly how to stop getting angry or upset with anyone or anything ever again. Not by pretending your emotions don't exist, not by shoving your feelings down, but by rewiring how you respond. We're going to break down actionable, battle-tested Stoic strategies that help you pause before reacting, detach from the drama, and train your mind to stay strong like a warrior. Let's be real. You're not weak for struggling with anger. You're human. Every man has faced the burning heat of rage, the sting of disrespect, and the inner war that follows. But few learn how to rise above it. That's where the transformation begins, right here. So if you've ever felt drained by your own reactions, emotionally hijacked by things you know shouldn't control you, this video is for you. Tap, like, hit subscribe, and share this with someone who's ready to reclaim their peace. Because once you understand Stoicism, you don't just learn how to manage anger, you become untouchable. And that changes everything. 1. Reframe. Emotional outbursts as habits, not identity. Let's start with a hard truth. You weren't born angry. You didn't come into this world slamming doors, yelling in traffic, or replaying arguments in your head like a broken record. That reaction, the one that feels automatic, now it was learned. Picked up over years of stress, pride, and a culture that screams at men to be loud, dominant, and aggressive at all costs. But here's the twist. Real strength isn't loud. It's silent, steady, unshakable. The most powerful man in any room isn't the one shouting. It's the one who stays calm. The one who doesn't flinch when challenged, the one who refuses to let his peace be rattled by small things. Anger at its core is not just an emotion, it's a habit, and like any habit, it can be unlearned. But before you can break it, you have to see it for what it really is, a chain reaction that keeps going because you keep feeding it. Someone cuts you off, your boss talks down to you, your partner says something sharp, and before your brain can even catch up, your mouth lashes out. That's the loop. That's the trap. Most men stay stuck in it for years, some for life, believing it's just who they are. But the Stoics, they saw it differently. To them, anger wasn't a personality trait. It was a weakness cleverly disguised as strength. Epictetus said it plainly. Any person capable of anger is a slave to it. Harsh, maybe, but honest, because the moment you react without thinking, you hand your power over to the thing that triggered you. You become predictable, easily provoked, emotionally exhausted. Now imagine this. You're standing in line at the DMV. It's been over an hour, then someone just walks right in front of you. No shame, no apology. You feel it rise. Tight chest, clenched jaw, that flash of heat behind your eyes, that moment, that is your battlefield. You can either fight the same old war and lose again, or pause, breathe, and ask one simple question. Will getting angry actually make this better? You already know the answer. You've lived it. So let's go back to that moment in line, the anger rising, the urge to snap. You've been there before, haven't you? And every time you've lashed out, what did it actually bring you? Relief? No. Peace? Definitely not. More often than not, it brought regret, more stress, more distance from the man you're trying to become. This is where Stoicism shifts the entire game. You don't need to suppress your emotions or pretend they don't exist. What you need is to step outside of them, like stepping out from under a storm cloud and watching it float across the sky. Acknowledge the feeling. Name it. But don't let it drive the car. Because your emotions aren't the driver, your mind is. Your rational self. That's where your power lives. That's what the Stoics trained like warriors through discipline, through daily reflection, through self-mastery. Most men, they go through life convinced their anger is proof that they care, that staying calm means you're weak, that not reacting means you don't feel. But the truth, it's exactly the opposite. Anyone can explode. That's easy. It takes zero effort to lose your cool. What's hard, what demands real backbone, is choosing composure when everything around you is pushing you to snap. When someone disrespects you and you don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you react, that's not weakness. That's dominance. When life throws chaos in your face and you don't flinch, that's control. So what do you do next time that fire starts building in your chest? You pause. You breathe, and you remind yourself, this anger is a habit. I don't need to wear it anymore. Then you walk away, not because you're weak, but because you've grown too strong to waste your energy on things that don't deserve it. You're not here to be triggered like a puppet. You're here to reclaim your power. And that journey, it doesn't start when the world changes. It starts when you start responding differently. So respond like a man who owns his mind. Respond like a Stoic. 2. Control yourself. Instead of trying to control others, here's a painful truth. It's easy to explode, easy to shout, easy to throw a verbal punch or storm out of a room. That's the default setting for most men when they feel disrespected, lash out to try and feel powerful again. But that kind of power, it's fake. It burns hot, fades fast, and leaves you emptier than before. Real power doesn't come from dominating someone else. It comes from mastering yourself in the heat of the moment. Anger is a trickster. It whispers that if you don't react, you're weak. That if someone pushes you, you have to push back harder. That silence is surrender. But think back, how many times has getting angry actually solved anything? You yell, they yell louder. You prove your point, but lose the connection. You win the argument, but toss and turn all night replaying every word. And in the end, you're drained, because deep down you weren't in control. You were just reacting. Now imagine this. You're in a team meeting. Your manager publicly criticizes your idea, unfairly, arrogantly. The tension hits you in the chest. Your jaw tightens. Every part of you wants to defend yourself, to shut him down in front of everyone. But then a voice inside cuts through the noise. If I react now, I'll only make this worse. So you pause. You breathe. And calmly say, thanks for the feedback. I'll revisit it. Then you move on. Later in private, you have the real conversation, clear, direct, but calm. That is control. That is strength. And that is Stoicism in action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The Stoics didn't believe in letting pride run the show. They chose response over reaction, clarity over chaos, because they understood something most men never learn. Trying to control other people is a losing game, but learning to control yourself, that's how you win. That's how you rise. That's how you reclaim your peace without saying a word. Here's the mistake most men make. They believe that silence equals weakness, that walking away makes you look like less of a man. But let me ask you something. Think about the last time someone lost it in front of you, rage, yelling, totally unhinged. Did you respect them more after that, or did they actually lose power in your eyes? See, rage is loud, but respect is quiet. When you stay calm in the face of provocation, you become untouchable. And that quiet strength, it unsettles people far more than any loud outburst ever could. Following the Stoic path doesn't mean you never speak. It means you choose how and when you speak on your terms, not on your angers. The moment you learn to delay your reaction, to let the emotion pass before you respond, you create something most men never do: space. And in that space, you find wisdom. You make better decisions. You keep your self-respect intact. So next time someone disrespects you, don't take the bait. Let them act small. Let them flail. You stay solid. Not because you're scared to speak up, but because you're wise enough not to step into their emotional storm. You rise above it, not for them, but for you. That's what real control looks like. It's not about having the last word. It's about having the last piece. So start today. Don't try to control the room. Control your breath, your words, your face, your energy, and you'll walk out of every conflict with something most men never find: your dignity untouched. And that's a win no one can take from you. 3. Build calm, like a muscle, through daily practice. Here's what most men get wrong. They expect to suddenly be calm in chaos without ever training for it. They wait until they're angry, overwhelmed, or backed into a corner, and only then do they try to stay composed. But emotional strength doesn't show up on command. It's not magic. It's not automatic. It's trained. It's earned. It's built in quiet moments when no one is watching. Just like your body won't grow stronger without regular workouts, your mind won't hold steady under pressure unless you've been training it every single day. Self-mastery isn't a switch you flip. It's a skill you forge. Picture a man who's never touched weights. One day he walks into a gym and tries to lift 300 pounds. What happens? He gets crushed. Your emotions are no different. If you've never trained yourself to pause, to breathe, to sit in discomfort without reacting, then the first time life hits hard, you fold. Not because you're weak, but because you're untrained. Now imagine this. You've just gotten home after a long, exhausting day. Your kid knocks over a glass of juice straight onto your laptop. Important files gone. Your instinct. You want to explode, but something inside you clicks. You've been working on this. So instead of reacting, you pause. You breathe. You look at your child and say, let's clean it up. It might feel small in the moment, but it's not. That's a rep. That's strength in action. And that rep, it'll serve you in storms far worse than spilled juice. Because Stoicism isn't a philosophy for monks on mountaintops. It was made for real life, for soldiers, leaders, workers, fathers. For people like you, surrounded by stress, demands, and noise. It teaches that peace isn't found in retreat. It's found by training your mind to stay still, right in the middle of the storm. And that training, it begins with the little things. Waking up early to reflect. Journaling your thoughts before bed. Choosing silence over sarcasm when someone tests your patience. These aren't empty rituals, they're workouts for the soul. The biggest mistake men make is waiting for the fire before learning how to stay cool. But that's not how it works. You don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training. So you train. You build rituals that sharpen your focus, deepen your breathing, and develop your emotional awareness one day at a time. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest emperors in history, journaled every single day. Why? To reflect, to prepare, to understand what triggered him and what didn't deserve his energy. That's how warriors of the mind are built. Last time we talked about building calm like a muscle, through repetition, through small daily reps, through showing up for yourself even when no one's watching. And now we take that one level deeper, training your mind in stillness so you can lead with strength when chaos hits. That's exactly what Marcus Aurelius did. Every night he reflected, not because he was weak or uncertain, but because he wanted to become stronger. He asked himself what tested him that day and how he could respond better tomorrow. And Epictetus, once a slave turned philosopher, taught that discipline doesn't begin with grand gestures. It begins with daily control. Control over thoughts, control over emotions. They didn't treat calm as something you stumble into. They practiced it like a habit, not as a reaction, but as a way of life. So, if you're tired of being the man who always loses it when things go wrong, start becoming the man who prepares before they do. Next time you're tempted to snap pause and sit with the discomfort, instead of numbing out with your phone, just breathe. When you're about to blurt something reactive, notice the breath in your chest. Hold it. Reflect. And at the end of your day, even if it's just 5 quiet minutes, ask yourself, what triggered me today? What helped me stay calm? What can I do better tomorrow? These may seem like small acts, but they're not. They're your emotional weightlifting. No one's born a Stoic. No one wakes up with flawless self-control. But the man who commits, who repeats, who trains, he becomes untouchable. You build calm the same way you build anything meaningful, with consistency, with effort, with time. So don't wait for the world to test you. Test yourself every day. Because the man who trains his mind in stillness is the one who rises above when the noise finally comes. 4. Let go of what doesn't serve you. You had a plan. Wake up early. Crush your workout. Check off your to-do list like a machine. Feel in control, on top of everything. Then suddenly, traffic hits. A client cancels last minute. Your boss dumps a pile of extra work on your plate without warning. The whole day derails. Your plan crumbles, and frustration builds fast. That tension in your chest, that heat in your throat. It's not from the events themselves, it's from your resistance to them. You're not angry because things changed. You're angry because you believed they wouldn't. But here's the truth. The world doesn't care about your schedule. Life doesn't ask for permission before changing course. And the longer you cling to how things were supposed to go, the more you suffer. That isn't weakness. It's attachment. And left unchecked, attachment becomes a trap. A mental cage. A man who needs everything to go perfectly in order to stay calm will never know peace. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing what isn't worth holding on to. It means learning the difference between what's in your hands and what's already slipping through your fingers, no matter how tightly you grip. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't waste energy on things like traffic delays or rude people. They saved their strength for what they could control, their mindset, their character, their response. So when something throws your day off balance, pause. Ask yourself, is this in my control? If the answer is no, don't feed it with your energy. Let it pass like a thunderstorm overhead. You're not ignoring it. You're choosing not to drown in it. That's not denial. That's discipline. See, most men think control means forcing things to go their way. But real control, it's about adaptation. Power isn't making the world bend to your will. It's staying calm when the world doesn't. That's why Stoicism isn't about passivity. It's about precision. It's not that you stop caring. It's that you stop wasting care on what can't be changed. And that shift, that single mental shift, it frees up your strength for what actually matters. Now picture this. You're in a parking lot. A stranger backs into your car, leaves a dent, then shrugs like it's nothing. Your blood boils. You want to erupt. You want justice. You want to make it right. But after that first wave of anger, something kicks in. You pause. You ask yourself, in the last section, we talked about letting go of what doesn't serve you, that sometimes the strongest move isn't to fight, but to protect your peace. Now picture this. You're in a parking lot. A stranger backs into your car, leaves a dent, and casually shrugs like it's no big deal. Every part of you wants to erupt. You want to yell. You want justice. You want to put him in his place. But instead you pause. You take a breath. And you ask yourself, will raging at him fix the dent? Will it make him care? You already know the answer. It won't. So you fill out the report. You stay calm. You protect your energy. And you drive away. Not just with a damaged bumper, but with your dignity intact. That right there is the move. That's the win. Not because you let him off easy, but because you didn't let him take anything more than metal. He didn't get your peace. He didn't steal your evening. He didn't take your health. You kept all of that because you let go of what wasn't worth keeping. Stoic strength doesn't shout. It doesn't cling. It releases. And in that release is real control. So start asking yourself this simple question more often. Is this mine to hold? If it's not, let it go. Because the man who knows what to carry and what to drop doesn't get rattled by every storm. He walks through it calm, clear, and unshaken. And that man, no matter the chaos around him, is always in control. 5. Turn conflict into a personal test of mastery. You can't avoid conflict. Not if you're alive. Not if you're working, building something meaningful, dealing with people. At some point, someone's going to test you, misunderstand you, talk down to you, push your limits. That's just life. But most men approach conflict the wrong way. They get defensive. They see it as an attack on their pride, a moment to prove themselves. So they puff up, raise their voice, try to dominate. But in doing so, they miss what conflict really is. It's not a threat to your power. It's a mirror of it. Conflict reveals where you still lose control, where your ego still runs the show, where you're still a slave to other people's opinions. That's why the Stoics didn't treat conflict as a problem. They treated it as practice. Every insult, every unfair moment, every confrontation, it was all a rep, a chance to strengthen the mind by refusing to get dragged into the noise. Picture this. You're standing in line at a hardware store. You've been waiting patiently. Then someone cuts in front of you, waves a receipt and demands to be helped first. Loud, entitled, drawing everyone's attention. Your heart starts pounding. Your jaw tightens. You're ready to explode. But instead, you pause. You go inward. And you ask yourself, what's really at risk here? My time, my ego, or my peace? And right there, you make the choice. Not to roll over, but to rise above. That's not weakness. That's power with precision. The mistake many men make is thinking that staying calm means surrender, that not reacting means you're letting people walk all over you. But handing over your emotions, that's giving your power away. The Stoic doesn't avoid confrontation. He just doesn't let it control him. He speaks when needed, not from anger, but from clarity. Because he knows there's one thing worse than being disrespected, becoming someone you don't respect. The more you see every challenge as a test, not of who's right, but of who's in control, the more unshakable you become. Conflict stops being a battlefield and starts becoming a gym. You stop wasting energy on petty arguments. You stop letting small people shrink your world. Instead, you use every moment to sharpen your strength. That's how Marcus Aurelius lived. He ruled an empire, faced war betrayal politics, but he chose stillness. He didn't chase revenge. He chased integrity, because he knew every interaction is a chance to practice self-mastery, not once in a while, but every single day. And the men who train like that, they don't just survive conflict, they walk through it untouched. So the next time someone pushes your buttons, try this. Instead of snapping back, say nothing. Instead of proving a point, protect your energy. Instead of letting their chaos become yours, become the calm they can't reach. Not to look good, not to get approval, but because you've trained yourself to rise above what isn't worth your fall. You're not here to react to every insult. You're here to sharpen your edge. So, what's the real win in conflict? It's not proving a point, it's not showing dominance, it's walking away with your peace and knowing you responded with control. Because every time you do, you prove something far more powerful than status. You prove you've conquered the hardest battlefield of all yourself. 6, stay present, because your imagination fuels your anger. Let's be honest, most of the time it's not the moment that makes you angry. It's what your mind does with it afterward. It's not just what someone said, it's what you think they meant. What might happen next, what you should have said, what it says about you, what this could lead to, that spiral of thought. That's where most of your suffering comes from. Until you learn to stop living in the past or panicking about the future, you'll keep losing control in the only moment that actually matters now. Most men don't talk about this, but it happens every day. You get cut off in traffic. It's a 3-second inconvenience. That's it. But in your head, you replay it for 30 minutes. You imagine chasing the guy down, screaming at him, putting him in his place. And now you're not just late to work. You're dragging that mental weight into your next call, your next meeting, even your dinner table. The moment passed, but your mind didn't let it go. That's how small things turn into heavy burdens, not because they were big, but because you carried them way too far. This is where Stoicism becomes razor sharp. It cuts through that noise. It says you only ever have one moment now. And in now, there is no insult, no imagined outcome, no past to fix, only breath, only action, only choice. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to snap back to the present. Every time his thoughts started to wander, he'd remind himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Not tomorrow, not after you win the argument, right now. But here's the trap most people fall into. They think, because I'm thinking it, it must be true. But it's not. Most of what we react to isn't even real. It's imagined, made up in our heads. The Stoics understood this. They knew that an untrained mind is the root of most unnecessary suffering. Leave your imagination unchecked, and it'll create enemies that don't exist, fights that never happened, scenarios that steal your peace for no reason. Try this instead. You're about to walk into a meeting. Someone you don't like is going to be there. Before they even speak, you've already built the tension in your chest. You're expecting attitude, expecting disrespect, expecting a fight. But that tension? It's not from anything they said. It's from the future you built in your head. So what do? Stop. Come back. Be in the moment. Maybe they'll say something rude. Maybe they won't. But either way, you'll respond better from a grounded mind than from one that's already 10 steps ahead. That's why mindfulness isn't just some spiritual fluff. It's a tactical advantage. It keeps your head clear when your instincts are screaming chaos. And no, you don't need to sit cross-legged for an hour to get it. You just need to notice your breath, your posture, the sounds around you, the feeling of your feet on the ground. That's it. And every time your mind wants to run wild and build stories, you bring it back. You train it like a muscle to stay here. Because when you do, you stop overreacting to things that haven't even happened. You stop reliving what you can't fix. You stop rehearsing what you'll never say. And you start responding not from anxiety, not from fear, but from presence. That's where your calm lives. That's where your power lives. You don't control what's already happened. You don't control what hasn't happened yet. But you do control this moment right now. And in that moment, you can choose to be grounded. In the last section, we explored how staying grounded in the present moment protects you from imagined pain and spiraling thoughts. But there's another invisible weight that can follow you even when the moment has passed: resentment. And that weight, it's heavy. 7. Drop the weight of resentment before it ages. Your resentment doesn't just live in your thoughts. It burrows into your body. It wears you down, slowly, quietly. You've seen it. The man who looks exhausted, even after 8 hours of sleep. Who walks like he's carrying something, even with empty hands. Who flinches at kindness, because betrayal taught him not to trust it. That weight isn't physical. It's emotional. And the longer you hold on to anger, blame, and bitterness, the more it eats away at your energy, your focus, your ability to feel light again. The scary part: most men don't even realize they're carrying it. They think they've moved on just because they've gone silent. But silence isn't healing. Just because you don't talk about it doesn't mean it's not shaping how you speak, how you trust, how you live. That grudge you've been holding for 5 years, it's still riding your shoulders. It's in your sleep. It's in how fast you snap when someone slightly crosses a line. That's why the Stoics didn't view forgiveness as a moral duty. They saw it as self-preservation. Letting go isn't about making peace with what someone did. It's about refusing to let it keep owning you. Because every ounce of resentment you hold onto, it steals peace from your present. And no one, not even the person who hurt you, deserves that kind of power over your life. Epictetus said, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus can get the better of my will." That's what forgiveness really is. Not approval, not forgetting, but refusing to be shackled from the inside. Think about it. Someone crossed a line. They lied. They left. They humiliated you in front of others. You told yourself, "I'll never forget that." And maybe you haven't. But every time you think of them, your chest tightens, your mood drops, your peace disappears. That's not strength, that's self-inflicted punishment. You're reliving what they did long after they've forgotten it. And that's the trap. We tell ourselves holding on protects us. But in reality, it's what weakens us. The Stoic doesn't wear anger like armor. He lets it go like fire because he knows the longer he holds it, the more it burns him. Forgiveness doesn't mean you have to trust them again. It means you're taking back the space in your heart for something better, something lighter. And it starts with a decision. Stop feeding the story. Every time you replay what happened, you reopen the wound. You rehearse the pain. So stop rehearsing pain. Start protecting your energy. You're standing in the break room. Someone throws a slick comment. You know it's a jab. You could clap back. You could take it home. You could replay it all night, rant to your friend, let it drain you. Or you could smile. Not because you're weak, but because you're done carrying trash that isn't yours. You take a breath. You walk out. You leave the weight behind. That's not passivity. That's power under control. That's knowing what's worth your energy and what's not. And when you start releasing resentment, you feel it. In your posture, in your sleep, in how clear your thoughts become. Because forgiveness, it's not a gift to them. It's a gift to yourself. Let it go. Not for their sake, but so you can finally stop dragging the past into your present. You've got more life ahead than behind. Make space for it, because the man who travels light moves faster, breathes deeper, and lives free. And you can be that man if you're ready to put the weight down. In the last section, we talked about dropping the weight of resentment and how letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Now we come to the final and most powerful move, pausing before you react. Because that pause, it changes everything. 8. Pause before you react. It changes everything. Most people don't realize it, but they're triggered by inattention, not outer events. And in that split second between the spark and the flame, they hand away their power. But what if that exact moment was the place you finally took it back? That's where Stoicism begins. In the pause. In the space between what happens and what you choose to do next. That's the battlefield. Not the insult, not the disagreement, not the chaos outside. The real fight is inside, in that breath, that instant where you choose, do I react like I always do, or do I respond like the man I'm trying to become? Most people don't even notice that space. Their emotions are faster than their awareness. But once you start seeing it, really seeing it, you begin to understand how much control you've actually had this whole time, and how often you've been giving it away. Let's take something familiar. You're at home. Your teenage son talks back again. The tone, the look in his eyes, it hits something in you. You're just about to snap, but then something holds you. You pause. You take a slow breath, and you say, I'm going to respond in a minute. That tiny move, that 1-second decision, that's power, not silence out of fear, but restraint with purpose. You've just interrupted a toxic cycle, one that's played out in households for generations. And now, you're writing a new one. See, the mistake is thinking that if you don't react quickly, you'll lose respect. That hesitation equals weakness. But what you gain in those 2 seconds is clarity. You give your brain time to process, to aim, to decide. And that's what the Stoics trained for, not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of timing. Marcus Aurelius never said, don't feel. He said, don't act unless it serves the greater good. And often, that good begins in silence. We live in a world that rewards speed. Reply now. React now. Clap back instantly. But emotional discipline doesn't care about speed. It values accuracy. It's about saying the right thing at the right time with the right tone. You can't do that if you let adrenaline do the talking. You have to stop. You have to breathe. You have to name what you're feeling before it turns into something you'll regret. And no, it doesn't require years of meditation, just one choice. Next time the pressure hits, try this pause. Tell yourself, I don't need to react yet. Walk into another room. Take 10 deep breaths. Ask yourself, what's the outcome I really want here? Then and only then you speak. You act, not from ego, but from intention. The Stoic man isn't cold. He's clear. He's not slow. He's steady. He doesn't repress what he feels. He commands it. Because in that pause, he sees more. He sees the consequences. He sees the opportunity. And he steps into both with a steady hand. So from this moment on, treat every emotional trigger as your training ground. When your heart races, when your fists want to clench, when your jaw tightens, don't move yet. Let the moment settle. Then decide how you want to own it. Because the man who masters the pause doesn't just win the argument, he wins himself. Now you know you're not a prisoner of your emotions. You're not trapped in anger, resentment, or the need to react. What the Stoics taught, what men like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus lived, was this calm isn't given. It's earned. Self-control isn't about denial. It's about discipline and peace. It's not weakness. It's power forged in silence. Over the past sections, you've seen how anger is a habit that can be unlearned. Real strength comes from mastering yourself. Emotional calm is a muscle built through small daily choices. Letting go is not surrender, it's freedom. Presence is the best defense against stress. And the pause is where your character is forged. This isn't theory. This is your life. It's in how you speak to your partner, how you hold your ground at work, how you walk away from noise, how you protect your peace. Each moment is a chance to practice, and the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. This is how you stop being triggered by everything. This is how you become untouchable. So I invite you, begin today. Train your breath, hold your words, master your pause, and build a mind that cannot be shaken by what it cannot control. If this message hit home, drop a comment below. What moment tested you recently? What did you learn from holding back? Because we grow by reflecting, and we help others grow when we share. In the end, the man who masters himself, his thoughts, his reactions, his energy, is the man who truly owns his life. And that is the kind of strength that endures.